Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing this very special figure from the Marvel Legends Hasbro line. Let's just get straight into it. So, off the bat, I'm not gonna lie, I really love this figure. He is definitely in my top 10 figures, just because he's so vibrant in color. Like, it's such a good contrast for me, personally. So, off the bat, a lot of people I've found hate the Marvel Legends Across the Spider-Verse line of toys, mainly because they don't like the physique or some weird ideas for them. I will admit, some of the physiques are weird. I find Miles' body structure to be also weird, so there is that. But I feel like 2099 is probably one of the better ones of all the toys that I've seen so far. So I'm going to do my in-depth analysis right now on his character from the comics. Hello everyone, here's my backstory part for Spider-Man 2099. This Spider-Man is from Earth 928 in the year 2099. This is important because it shows a darker future for Marvel and doesn't affect the main continuity story. Miguel was raised after the Heroic Age, which means all the heroes have died, like Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, etc., from a mysterious event which little is known about. However, Miguel is a brilliant geneticist for Alchemax. He's a mix of Mexican and Irish descent and is a super to everyone. He was raised from the wealthy, so he really only looks out for himself and looks down upon people. His boss wants him to create the perfect spy, so Miguel digs into the superhero files and finds Spider-Man, the perfect spy. He then creates a machine to transform the person into a Spider-Man. However, after some illegal human trials, the machine only turns the person into a spider monster before they viciously die. Miguel's boss was so desperate to keep Miguel under his employ, so he slips a drug into his drink that is said to be 10 times more addicting than heroin, with Alchemax being the only supplier of this drug. So Miguel then tries to revert his DNA to before it was changed. However, Miguel, being a super finally caught up to him, and his lab assistant tries to turn him into a spider monster so he can kill him. But Miguel has spider powers and goes to be Spider-Man 2099. Spider-Man 2099's powers are different to Peter Parker's in many ways. Miguel does not have any spider sense, however, he does make up for it in heightened reflexes that work to a similar advantage. He also doesn't have the normal wall crawling of Spider-Man, instead he has talons that just stick into whatever he's climbing. Among normal powers of Spider-Man, he also has fangs that inject a temporary paralysis venom. Okay, so I just thought I would add that. I don't think they're gonna actually add that to the movie. Well, not all the pieces, obviously, right? Like, I don't see them trying to go through the whole spider monster machine garbage, right? But I thought it'd be a nice little touch to add. So, into the figure itself. So it comes with one alternating pair of hands, which is usually Marvel Legends stick, or Hasbro's I should say. So it comes with these cool little open hands. I usually don't use them because I like this version of Miguel to look like intimidating and scary like, but it has some really good detail, nice paint job, and it definitely just doesn't look like boring pair of blue or red hands, right? He has also these really nice knuckle-like details in there, so that's cool. And he also has these giant sidearm pieces, which I really love. I just love the look of that. Like, his normal costume doesn't have them as long as this, but it's a nice touch. He also has a web cape. I don't know how much that's going to be included into the movie itself, because every time I've seen him in the movie trailers, you don't see it. Okay, so now I will go over the things I don't like about this figure, because I'm going to be honest, there are things that are horrendous about this figure outside of the body proportions, I would say. So, number one is the ab crunch. So, it's a basic normal ab crunch, right? So, it's not too different, right? You could do good amount of flexibility, but here's where it gets really bad, right? You put him backwards, and you get this. What is this? So usually people would be like, oh, well, maybe they just didn't think of that, or they couldn't add the painted. But the problem is, even the same toy line of Across the Spider-Verse, for Miles even, they added extra paint going up, so it didn't look so like off. So if you try to recreate the scenes where he's like leaping at Miles and he has to look up, it doesn't really work too much. So that was a little weird, I feel like. The next one I will go over, it's more of a minor detail because I don't like how they did this. So people were complaining about his head shape being weird. It has this look from Across the Spider-Verse. Personally, I love it. It's a very distinct looking headpiece for sure. But the problem I'm having with the head is Like, look at this. This is good, right? Now, if you look at this joint, you'd probably think nothing's off of it. But here's the problem. You can't really move it. So if you try to do scenes from the trailer or movie where he's looking down, it doesn't work. Like, that is as much as it goes downwards, and then this is as much as it goes upwards. So obviously that's a huge problem because you want your figures to look cool, you want them to look menacing. So like if you try to have them look down on a character, it doesn't really work unless you do this awkward ab crunch thing. So that's a huge problem in my opinion. What I will go over is the fact that the arms are kind of come off loose. I was looking at this other dude and do his review, and his figure, if he grabbed it in a certain way, would literally fall off, which is kind of concerning. You don't want your figures to do that unless obviously you're modifying them with like boiling water or heat or something like that. So that's a huge issue. The paint is definitely the better ones of the Marvel Legends I've had, though it's definitely not the best. I've noticed so like there's certain chips in the paint. I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. But not huge chips where it's noticeable. I don't even think you could see it on the camera really. And then on the shoulder pieces, it's the actual plastic itself. It's just this reddish paint, right? But it feels weird, like the texture's off, and then on top of that, you can't really do much with the lines and stuff. Like, it just looks so tacky with it, I would say. So there's that. And then the hugest thing, in my opinion, because with Marvel Legends, they've had figures before where you can actually just take off the cape pieces, right? And I'm gonna get a figure to show this, actually. Okay, so this is my other 2099 figure. This was the first one I got. And I really love this figure, right? Obviously, it's not as bold in color like I was talking about earlier, right? Because you can see the huge difference in colors. Obviously, physique's different and everything, right? But the thing I wanted to bring up was with the cape. So, with this Miguel O'Hara's cape, if you look at it, you can see this cool little like clear reddish like plastic, right? And it's thin, it's not going to add too much weight to it. But then if you can see that on the camera, you can see this little black line right here. That's the indentation for the cape, and you can't take off this cape at all, otherwise it damages the figure. And it's even attached to the shoulders, which don't look as bad, but the fact that this is a plastic instead of just making like a red so you don't see it as much, it looks really tacky. And you can't be like, oh, okay, well, they don't do that normally with the other capes, because in the first 2099 he comes with this awesome cape, right, which looks as cool, if not cooler, than this one because of the weird red going downwards. But then you can see, if you take this off, it's just a little pin piece, and you can just put it in, put it out if you want. So if you want him to look cool without it, it still works. If not, again, it's still there for when you want to do it. So they definitely could have worked around that. Like I was saying though, for the comparisons, this one is definitely more darker and more comic accurate, I would say, than this one. But this is for the movies, so you know, making that comparison's not fair, all right, but I still love it nonetheless. And like I was saying with the colors, this color scheme really works given the style of the movie, right? Like the bold colors are Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, right? Like those are distinct colors. You don't expect to see the movie with just black and red undertones, right? Or maybe blue undertones. Like this would have worked maybe as like a side character or something, like, you know, as an Easter egg. But even then, like, the darker colors are so, not bad, but they're not as noticeable as the other ones. And again, just to show, these are the arm spikes. You can tell they're really small in comparison. Like, it's just night and day with those two. So yeah, but I will say this figure does beat it with the head motion. Like, you can move it down if you want to. Like, that's what I would like for some of the looks for the action figure, so it can look down. It can also look up really nicely, I would say. But yeah, overall, I love these two figures. This one especially, I know I had my doubts about it, but like I said, the colors are great. The action figure just looks great. It's distinct, and that's what I love about figures. They have to look distinct, otherwise you're just buying the same paint job or repaint over and over again. And that's the problem why I was like not going to buy more Marvel Legends until I saw these figures. These figures just look different and unique, and that's what I need. That's why, like, I completely stopped for a second just buying Marvel Legends. It was just the same body molds and then the same lenses for Spider-Man and the same everything. But you can clearly tell someone put time into this. Someone put some effort into this. And this looks beautiful. And that's the result of good time. Also, another thing I forgot to mention was with the paint jobs, usually it's just a, basic paint. But this one actually has some nice textures to it. Obviously, outside of like the ab work, this red paint's probably not going to have too many textures. But if you go down to these legs, I forgot to mention these, but it's like someone actually sculpted these. Like, you can feel the indents on them. Same thing with all these spikes and stuff. Like, you can feel the indents. Even this cape isn't just like lines on it. It's like you could feel the texture of the plastic, and it just looks really nice. So that's my video for today. If there's anything I can improve on with these videos, please tell me. Yeah, if you hit the like and subscribe button, really appreciate it.